right, good morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. It's time for us to look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our papers. And also today is Friday, so thank God it is Friday. The very second to the last, actually. There's still one more Friday next week before the month of November comes to an end. 2024 is the curtains on 2024 is gradually dropping. I hope, and I hope that we're all prepared for that, and we're also preparing for 2025. God willing, God keep us all. And it's very, very important to plan. It's also very important to put things in order. It just makes a whole lot more sense that way. Anyways, it's time for us to look through the papers. As I mentioned earlier, we have our papers: The Punch, The Guardian, and Vanguard newspaper in no particular order. My name is Omobola Sandra, and Fuhad Sahid will join via the phone line to give analysis to the stories that we will be looking through this morning. And we'll do that up at about 8:30, and we take a short commercial break. By 8:40, we are back for Milan Focus, which is the part where you get to be part of the conversation. But before then, of course, good morning, Fuhad. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. I just got, some sort of disturbing news. I don't know if it's disturbing, but I just got really uncomfortable news. Let me put it that way. So,
what news is that?
Yes. So apparently, there's an analysis by SBM Intelligence that has shown that Nigeria's instability has worsened, and now we have been ranked as a vulnerable country and one of the biggest losers in the sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, it's almost like its own news, really, that we have this ranking or this rating.
From 39th last year. I think it's also important I put the figures out. We were ranked number 39th last year, and then the sharp drop is just really, really the disturbing part to 45th. We're now 45th.
Sandra, we do news analysis almost on a daily basis. We look at the figures, we look at the indices, we say these things, and I'm surprised that you're actually surprised that this is how far down the rabbit hole we've gone. It's just what it is, really. And that's why some of us are saying that, look, we don't have to be delusional about these things. The figures are not looking very, very good. The indices are bad. The reality is poor. And I'm surprised that you're this surprised that look, it's not bad for us.
It's not really surprising per se. It's just disturbing that it is this
disturbing,
bad.
Right?
Yes, the fact that it is this bad, and the fact that
look at what even the MBS is telling you about food, vulnerability of Nigerians when it comes to food insecurity. 71% of Nigerians, according to the NBA, are now considered food insecure. They can't feed themselves. About 2/3 of Nigerian households can no longer feed themselves. What are you saying now, Sandra? As we speak now, we are the third most indebted nation, to foreign lenders. What else do you want to know?
Well,
our currency is currently rated as the worst performing currency in sub-Saharan Africa. Sandra, what else do you want to hear? Currently, Sandra, again adding to the figures and the data, Nigeria has the most homeless people in the world as we speak. What else do you want to know? Nigeria currently has the highest number of school children amongst countries of the world. What else do you want to know?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
There's just a lot actually at this point now. There's just a lot. I remember sometime earlier this week when IMF was saying, the reforms of this administration is, impoverishing Nigerians and just making things even worse for a lot of people in the country. But then you also have here the president calling on IMF to create some safety nets for vulnerable Nigerians and make it a priority. We'll still get to that report, by the time we start looking through the major stories for today. But just as Fouad has said, 71% of households adversely affected by food price hike, a whooping 71%. And just tells how far, the social status has dropped in recent times. There's no middle class anymore. It's just you're either rich or you're poor. There's no in between at this point. And the moment you do not have in between, economics have said that is a big problem for the economy. The moment you don't have the middle class, because the middle class should or is supposed to create that balance, in the
that
society.
Buffer.
Yes,
this is buffer, really.
Exactly. And here we are. And here we are. It's been totally scrapped out, in the Nigerian economy. But then, away from that particular story, because we're still going to dig deep into it by the time we move on to trends in the papers proper. There's also, the report of Mᴏɪᴜ yesterday was also, arrested in Finland. Whether or not that's good news for Nigerians or,
good news, Alexander.
For a lot of people, but
very good news. Very, very good news. That JᴏɪR has now been arrested. The man has been causing a lot of trouble for us. Whereas he sat down there in Finland enjoying safety, the peace and tranquility of that environment. Whereas here he continues to encourage people to cause chaos and carnage in the southeast. So it's a good one. I don't know whether the government will be able to extradite him. Because again,
but that's
I hear he carries a Finnish passport. So, and it means he also has dual nationality. So, how extradition works for a person like that who carries the two nationality of Nigerians and Finland, I think we need probably to talk to lawyers on how that can possibly happen. But I think the feelings we are getting, and even some of the reports, is that the Nigerian government will be making moves to bring him back home. And that would have been so lovely to see.
All right, we'll see how that will turn out as time moves on. Then, Fouad, what is going on between Tompolo and the Nigerian military? There's been some sort of back and forth between the Nigerian military and Tompolo. Then, as it is now, Nigerian military is accusing Tompolo of blackmail, and then you have Tompolo on one hand, also, spewing things and saying things. What exactly is going on?
Well, we've seen a number of times, occasional situations where Tantita Security, owned and managed by Tompolo, that has that juicy 4 billion naira contract, monthly contract.
Monthly, thank you.
Clashing with military authorities who are also operating on our waters, the naval forces, when it comes to the fight against oil theft. So we see situations where both the Nigerian military and the Tantita Securities have accused themselves of sabotage. In situations where Tantita have also said that, look, the military is aiding and abetting oil theft. Whereas you also have the Nigerian Navy saying that, look, the Tantita Securities are not as clean as they pretend to be. But the reality is that, look, it's just unfortunate, again, Sandra, that the work that our regular institutions are supposed to do, we're leaving it in the hand of non-state actors, if you understand what I'm saying. But again, how do you blame Tompolo? Currently, the NNPCL is saying that they are now shooting about 1.8 million barrels of oil production per day. And that, according to their report, is as a result of the yeoman job that Tompolo is doing with his Tantita Security. I don't think the Nigerian Navy has been able to even achieve that until the Tantita Security arrangement was brought in. Some form of native intelligence, local arrangement to ensure that we are able to sustain some reasonable oil production. So if our back and forth to continue, which we sit on our waters, sometimes they even almost clash. But that's the reality of Nigeria. Our institutions have failed to the point where non-state actors are now helping us to do what our regular security outfit should be doing.
All right, then. Well, so many other stories for us to look through this morning, but of course we don't have, that luxury of time. But just on a lighter note, there was the report that came in yesterday that the aviation minister is to conduct an unscheduled visit across airports to ensure cleanliness. And I'm wondering why the announcement.
Wear nose mask.
If it's an unscheduled one. Why are you telling them ahead
Where no
of something that they shouldn't be prepared for? Oh, I'm coming, oh, but don't worry, I won't tell you when I'm coming. But they will know that you're coming.
And they'll be prepared for it. You will go there. And look at what it's going to inspect, Sandra.
Cleanliness
In our airport. I can tell you for sure, this is not about. I think there's been a little bit of upgrade. The Murtala Mohammed International Airport. So, Sandra, if you visited airports in the world, you would actually agree with me that airports are actually very dirty. If you've seen airports, so not the one you have in Ogun State.
We see there are categories of airport that different kind. Airports in Ogun State.
People just have a wrong way.
Is a cargo cargo. That's what we.
How many cargo have you received in that
It's
airport?
not for human beings. I don't like this. You know what? See, I'm done with this conversation.
The airport. You know, did the wrong way. They did the airport.
It's an airport. The planes fly and come down there. They take off and land.
But honestly, we need to do more with the ambience around the airport, the cleanliness. Airports are supposed to be the first point of contact for anybody visiting your country for the first time.
That will give the first impression.
And give that first impression. It shapes the perception of the people or the person coming in about the country. So when they feel welcome, when they love what they see as they arrive at your airport, they begin to believe that, look, this is a country that can give me some form of warmth and good times. But I'm sorry, a lot of times you go out of the country, see beautiful airports, you come back home and you just feel disappointed.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Well, it's 7:53 a.m. and you're on to Milan 98.3 FM. It's time for us to look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our papers for this morning. We are live on Facebook and YouTube at Milan 98.3 FM, so you can also follow the program on that platform. You can also tune in to Milan 98.3 FM on our website, www.milanfm.com. Just click on the listen live icon and you're good to go. Another alternative channel is the Radio Garden app. So you download the Radio Garden app, search for Milan 98.3 FM, and you're also good to go. So many, alternative channels, just in case you do not have access to your traditional radio. Let's get on with it now, shall we? I'll start with the Punch newspaper. The major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper reads, Anti-Tinubu comments, ACF suspends chairman as Aᴏᴜ and others back president. Which of the chairman? Because I think they have to. I don't know.
You like Wala?
I'm just asking. Anyways, we have a rider here that says Tinubu inherited Buhari's economic policies.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Okay. Apologies for that. Yes, that was just a very sharp technical glitch. We're back. All right. So we have a rider here that says Tinubu inherited Buhari's economic policies. Ohanaeze, Middle Belt, and others reply ACF. Well, let's see what we have here. It's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper as what ACF exactly is talking about. So, the Arewa Consultative Forum suspended its chairman, Maman Osuman, following widespread reactions across the country after their criticism of President Bola Tinubu's policies, saying it had impoverished the North. So the ACF in a statement added that the interests of the North would be best represented by Northerners. Now, Yoruba socio-political group, Afenifere, Igbo socio-cultural body, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, and other regional groups have backed the president, insisting that his predecessor, Muhammad Buhari, laid the marker for the hardship in the country. So it's this region saying, no, it's your guy that's responsible, and the other guy saying, no, your guy is, it's your guy that is responsible.
Okay, so what do we do with that now?
That's basically...
This game, where does it take us to? So it's a regional thing now. It's not,
that's it.
The failure of governance now has become, an ethnic thing. Oh, Aᴏᴜ will say, no, it's Buhari that did it. And then I will say, oh, it's Tinubu that is doing it. And Sandra, I'm sure you know my mind when it comes to all of these socio-cultural groups and political groups. I will say it for free, and I'm going to say it again this morning, Sandra. the Aᴊɪʲ cannot speak for me as a Yoruba man. They will not. They don't even have what it takes to speak for me. I say it on live radio today for anybody to hear. They don't even have what it takes to speak for me. They are speaking for their members. And so whatever agenda they said is for them and their members alone. Not for me as a Yoruba person. And I also assume that a lot of Yoruba people would understand what I'm saying. The same thing you ask yourself, the so-called Arewa people. You know, yesterday I was asking Faith, they come out condemning, the government is this and that. What have they said about the contributions of their own political leaders and political elites too? When it comes to the welfare poverty in the north, what have they said to it? How well are they condemning their own political leaders? How well are they holding to account their own political leaders and political elites who consistently, by their actions and inactions, have made that region extremely poor? The number of out-of-school children, the level of poverty in the north. Have you ever seen Arewa come out really to hold their own leaders accountable the way they should? Even though I'm not also excusing the Aᴊɪභᴏ people who have turned into an ethnic thing. We're talking about nation building here. How will they have any further this group? If anybody likes, they should believe them. I don't believe them. I understand that they are just more about political positioning. And when they set this agenda, you have to be able to read through the lines, read in between the lines to understand that, look, these guys are just setting their own political agenda. So they're not speaking for me. If there's anything that Aᴊɪභᴏ is speaking for Yoruba person, remove me from the list of Yoruba people they are speaking for.
It's okay, it's okay.
I'm just saying that, look, it is okay now. The man that is the chairman of the group issued a statement. 2 days after the group is saying no, he didn't take permission, so they are suspending it. So, Sandra, in reality, would you take that group serious? You understand what I'm saying? And it is still the same our politicians that confer undue relevance and importance to these groups. They welcome them. They patronize them. When elections come now, they are looking for their endorsement. Instead of looking for the endorsement of ordinary Nigerians, they will be looking for these groups to endorse them. So they also confer that unfortunate importance to themselves, even though the reality is that they are not even important. Are you telling me that it's Aᴊɪභᴏ that decides how people vote in the Southwest, Yoruba people? What amount of influence, for example, does Aᴊɪභᴏ have to influence the pattern of voting in the Southwest? But unfortunately, you see our politicians patronizing them, looking for their endorsement. The same thing with the so-called Arewa people. So at the end of the day, these guys continue to do these things, distract us from the real issues, whereas the poverty continues, the misgovernance continues, and they come with all of these unnecessary distractions. Useless distractions, actually.
It's okay. Well, still on the particular report, I have here that reacting to this whole brouhaha now, the special advisor to the president on policy communication, Daniel Bwala, said, and I quote, "There is no need for the president to have a say because the ACF, they're calling for an Arewa person to run for president. That means the Arewa person can run from any political party. The simple answer is that we don't want to heat up the polity. We have not gotten to the point where people will be talking about 2027. We are focused on providing good governance to Nigeria. And the focus is on hunger, poverty, and climate change. That is what the president is focused on. The president is not focused on 2027.
Oh, really? Wonderful. You see that, Sandra? That's really right.
No, but that's what the special advisor to the president on policy communication.
On what?
On policy communication.
Okay, this thing that bad, you know, they first told us that Wala will only be speaking on policy. This thing you are reacted to now, what is the policy behind it?
Well, because the Arewa Consultative Forum had criticized the president's policies, saying that it is his policies that has impoverished the North. So it's important for him to communicate the policies intention or the
what policy has he communicated now?
Or the intention of the policies of the president.
You see that?
That's what's going on here.
What policy? Okay, now from what Bala said, what policy issue has he really said?
This is
in clear terms, they are focused on climate change. How?
I'm waiting for Bayo Onanuga's own statement. So we can
we just move on to these guys will continue to distract us?
Well,
and it's deliberate, so they know what they are doing.
The APC has said yes, while the ACF has the right to express its opinion, it cannot claim to speak for the entire North. That's what the National Publicity Director.
What are they saying about Fᴏᴜ? I can speak for the entire Southwest.
They did not say anything. They just said the ACF.
Okay, the ACF, I didn't want to talk.
Yes.
But I'm sure you'll be happy with the Fᴜᴜ stand on the issue.
They did not say anything. That's
I think one is also saying something. One is also saying something.
So moving on, still on that particular report, Labour Party as well had something to say. The National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Obiora Ifo, also stated that if the ACF had truly been monitoring the political landscape, it would recognize that the issue was not related to tribe or geopolitical zone. So that's what the Labour Party is trying to, clear that.
I wanted to add this point. They said something.
Okay. Then
you want to run away?
No, I'm not. I'm trying to uncover it for you. So just
in the story, I saw it.
It's there, but I'm with the paper, so I have to go online for that. Okay, that's where the issue here is. But not to worry, I will dig it out for you. But aside from the Labour Party, statement as regards, let's not regionalize the whole thing. The PDP as well and the New Nigeria's People's Party have cautioned the APC against divisive statements. Okay. No. Yes, thank you. All right. And what we have now is the PDP is questioning why the ACF is making this statement now, noting that their previous endorsement has had no impact. That's, for PDP. Okay. But because they're saying that we've seen all their endorsements in the past and how they amounted to nothing. So all this unnecessary grandstanding about someone from the north and someone from the south is neither necessary nor healthy for the well-being of this country at this time now. That's what,
the intention is just to distract us, get us distracted with all of this inanity, very useless, unnecessary statements at this time about whether it's somebody from the north. Let's stick to the policy issues. Let's stick to nation building. Let's address critical issues, about development of this country. Instead of all of these, these guys know what they are doing. And that's why I'm saying that, look, until we begin to say to these groups that, look, you have no real control on how people think, they will continue to do these things to us. And that's what I'm saying, that I'm repeating it again. I'm saying the does not have what it takes to speak for me as a Yoruba man. I'm repeating it again. It's not that they cannot speak for me. They don't even have what it takes to speak for me.
Well, Fᴜᴜ on its own part, has also quite some interesting things to say, saying that the North should take responsibility for its growing poverty rates. And that's what, Fᴜᴜ is saying, that though the president's economic policies might be faulty, the North should not tie the poverty in the zone to the present administration. Saying that poverty has always been living in the North, and the North has always had this archaic, very dehumanizing practice of out-of-school children. The Amajiri, they will have their children in their numbers. They brought poverty.
Like I said, these are what people now they engage their own leaders on these issues that Fᴜᴜ has also brought up.
All right, but then Mzo Ndibo has asked the North to first blame former President Muhammadu Buhari for its current economic hardship, because the hardship started under him. Yes, it said, and I quote, "It is not because the view is being shared by the ACF. Every Nigerian shared the view that hardship is biting hard." Yes. Right? Whether Hausa.
Who do we blame now? Who do we blame? If you want to blame, what are you going to blame?
There's no. Is there a point blaming? Shouldn't we just focus on the fact that we are suffering? Someone should just get it out.
Say you now see.
Is a demonstration of wirecast.
Oh, and I'm going to start.
Hey,
Sandra, are you not already seeing people say that? Take us to Buhari time. He's a good man. We can start that too. That okay? They begin to now compare. What was the dollar under Buhari? How much is a bag of rice under Buhari? How much is a bag of rice now? You can start that. What was the living standard of people at that time? What it is now? And all these groups forgotten that even the president, when he was contesting, said that look, he's going to continue with the legacy of Muhammadu Buhari. So where is this blame game coming from? Really? So we're going to get to the point where APC will now be blaming APC.
Well, the Mzo Ndibo said a lot. Apparently, Middle Belt Forum also had something to say as regards this, wondering why the ACF did not complain under Buhari's administration whose economic policies brought about the present hardship being faced by Nigerians. It's quite a long read. You can kick things off with page 2 of the Punch newspaper and wrap it up.
So Sandra, do you now see what the groups are doing to us? Say you've seen the groups, what they are doing to us.
It's
fine.
Just really unfortunate, really, at this point now. So the focus now is who is responsible rather than
who do we blame?
Rather than what can be done. Exactly. Boost power generation in states, and that's on page 25 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here excuse me. Okay. We also have here Lagos 3 trillion 2025 budget prioritizes infrastructure and tourism. And that's on page 6. That's a very interesting one.
Budget is that 3 trillion in Lagos.
3 trillion naira. That's interesting. That's very
prioritize what?
Infrastructure and tourism.
Let me use this opportunity to tell the governor, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, as we are prioritizing infrastructure. Again, it would be nice to go see the people. And tourism. Sandra, Lagos is now extremely dirty.
And smelly.
And smelly. A state that is prioritizing tourism.
Maybe.
Unless there's a different definition.
No, that Lagos. I'm not. It's not me. That Lagos should be.
Lagos should be what? Our Lagos. Your Lagos.
Please excuse me. Please. With all due respect.
What do you mean by this?
No, I'm just.
Sandra, I've been driving now, and I can tell you that I'm moving past each of garbage from one bus stop to another bus stop, from one location to another location. It's taking dirty. Really?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And then the lawlessness on our roads now, with this commercial bus driver, Sandra, they park everywhere, anywhere, pick passengers, it's complete lawlessness and chaos. And you see a collabo, Sandra, a collabo between police and last man and the drivers. They don't pick passengers everywhere and anywhere past. They don't care. Nobody cares. A state that is focusing on tourism. How? Where? We should first focus on orderliness.
Budget of sustainability aims to address infrastructure, economic diversification, and other critical sectors in the state. And there's a recurrent expenditure of 1.24 trillion naira and a capital expenditure of 1.76 trillion naira. And the sectoral allocation includes economic affairs, will take about 900 billion, environment to take about 200 billion, health 204, education 208, security, safety, and public order 124, and social protection will take 47. And this budget, according to the governor Sanwo-Olu, is structured around 5 key pillars designed to ensure economic stability, environmental stewardship, and social equity. And these 5 pillars are infrastructure sustainability, economic diversification, social inclusion, and human capital development, environmental sustainability, and governance and institutional reforms. So they are preparing for approval and implementation of this budget. There's a deficit financing of over 408 billion. But we'll not look at that. Let's just move on. And that story is on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on now. The federal government and the governors will decide on state police next week. We had been having a lot of back and forth as regards that particular one. Some governors are tuning in to that frequency, and some of them are still a little bit,
I think about 3 or 4 states have refused to submit their own submission on what it's doing. And I think they do that in 1 week.
You get some sort of response as regards that one. PDP postpones next meeting as North Central insists on chair, and that's on page 36 of the Punch newspaper. So many politics going on there. And finally, off the front page of the Punch, we have here ECPA's terror charges. Federal government presses for extradition as IPOB disowns Biafra agitator, and that's on page 2. I don't.
Who's going to claim somebody? It's time to disclaim
No. This is why So is he an oil and gas friend? So are we saying that he does not have a way? He does because
it's always when you are in trouble, people will disown you. When trouble comes,
so
they'll go disown you.
So it's only a way that they are just a way look at that. Stand Security Network, which is a paramilitary organization of the indigenous people of Biafra. So it's very important to put that out before we now look at IPOB disowning Simon Ekpa. Okay?
What party will disown them?
Well, Simon Ekpa, who had proclaimed or self-proclaimed himself as a disciple of Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB leader, the Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Fᴜဃᴜ, has, expressed or has given indication that he should be extradited to Nigeria to face criminal charges. Also, many Nigerians online have been demanding his repatriation to Nigeria to face terrorism charges.
I don't know how easy it will be really to extradite this back to Nigeria. Like I said, I think he has dual nationality, and I don't know what the law says and how easy it would be really for the Finnish authorities to send him back to Nigeria to answer terrorism charges. Or probably they want to stand trial over there. You understand? So, but I think it's good that somehow we are trying to rein this guy in. These guys sit down in their comfort zone, in their luxurious apartments abroad, and continue to incite people to violence back home. We can see what has become of the Southeast. People cannot go out on Mondays. There's killing, threats here and there. So I think whatever we're able to do to rein anarchists like someone Ekpa in is a welcome development. But I also think that on the Nnamdi Kanu issue, it's time to look for a political solution. That's going to be my advice. I think I've said it severally.
Yes, you have.
Whatever it will take to bring peace back to the Southeast, I think the government should begin to explore those opportunities. And if it's about a political solution to this issue of Nnamdi Kanu, I think it's also time for President Tinubu to look towards that direction.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Let's not forget very quickly that sometime in 2023, Simon Ekpa was also accused of inciting crimes and he was arrested, in Finland as well, because aside from the fact that he was, accused arrest Ekpa because he had asked people to boycott the 2023 general polls, insisting there would be no election. More recent arrests now that what exactly would be the outcome, definitely we would be watching. But the story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. You are listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. We are looking through major trending stories on the front pages of our papers. We are just done with the Punch newspaper. My name is Omobola Sandra, and I have Fuhad Sahid giving analysis to the stories via the phone line. Don't forget, we are live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM, so you can join the program on both platforms. Moving on now to the Guardian newspaper, the major headline: dwindling sports fortunes, grassroots neglect, mediocrity strip Nigeria of youthful population edge. And that story is on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. We've had this conversation before, also from the Guardian newspaper as well. I see what we have here is Nigeria is teetering on the brink and risk non-qualification for the 2026 FIFA World Cup after a disastrous outing at the Paris 2024 Olympics. The country's stark failure to make a 70% youthful population count in sporting circles is both distressing and concerning. But with the abundance of human resources, stakeholders are upbeat that the massive revamping of moribund sports facilities, creating new ones, resuscitating school and grassroots sports, taking seriously the task of nourishing nascent sports talent, finding sustainable sports development programs, and generally leveraging the youth population will yet again translate into greatness in sports. This is something we've always talked about. Talked about it sometime last year, the dilapidating, sporting facilities that we have across the country. The fact that the youths are not being mobilized enough for
the sporting activities where talents are vested. But I don't know whether you have a FIFA scores again.
I've not heard that in years. I'm so sorry, I forgot that. But now
most of our schools now stand there. We are the playground.
So I just want to ask a question, Fuad. Is it that we don't? Okay, no, that's not even a question, because yes, we have the talent in abundance. Okay, so industry, is it the administration, or is there something else that is?
It's just administration, really. How we administer our sports. The scavengers have also taken over. When I say scavengers, people who go into these federations, for example, not with any intention to develop anything. It's just the money. They're looking at just after the money. So there's no commitment really to building anything. And look, you can have the abundance of talent, but you know that when it comes to getting to the pinnacle of your career when it comes to sports, sport has already become scientific, Sandra.
Yeah.
It becomes scientific.
Yeah.
So you discover that you can have a football team that has 11 players on the field who are all talented. You go to the other side who are just of average talent. But because you have better technique, better training, better exposure, and they have a better tactic, they will defeat you. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just the fact that we are not investing enough in these things. We are not committed enough to developing the talent, full of talent we have. In those days, they tell you, go to Yajebule, go to this place. Most of our players came from those areas. But there were no competitions, there were no room for them to develop this talent. Sandra, look, you go as a child, on the weekend you take your child out at 8, 3, 8, 4, 8, 5. The one that will play lawn tennis will play lawn tennis. The one that will go for swimming classes will go for swimming classes. The one that wants to play football has a good football pitch with a coach that is being paid to train those young talents. So they begin to identify. So when they come, they just shout like a million stars. You understand what I'm saying? But here, it's just the grace of God. If you have any talent and you get to the peak, look at all this God and then get to a point where those talents can be well grown. It's going to be the same story. There are even people that will tell you that, look, there are boys in the street who can play better than those guys. But how do they develop their talent when there's no facility on ground to do so?
Well, but what about some sort of private partnership or private involvement? Private sector involvement. What do you think of that? Do you think that would salvage?
The private sector cannot be tolerant of the shenanigans we have with our sport administrators.
Okay.
You understand? You know the private sector has a way of doing things. It's either you are ready to do it or they just leave you. So how would they invest in sectors where there's widespread corruption? You have all manner of square pegs and round holes. You have government involvement. You have people who are sitting on this federation who are not ready to let go. People who are not ready to play by the rules. So you see the private sector distancing themselves. We can't be wrong. Look at our local league. It's a struggle to even get a sponsor to sponsor the Nigerian league. A league that, you also see a manner of corruption, referees are culpable, the administrators are doing a manner of things. So the private sector guys look at it and say, look, we can't put our money into these things.
All right. Thank you very much, Fuad. Further details on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. A quick look at that. Dwindling sports fortunes and also 2026 World Cup is looking very, very, very far for us as Nigerians at this time. Now, that's a very painful one.
The miracle can still happen.
Anything can happen, of course. Anything can happen. Maybe if we have Ronaldo complete for us.
I think, no, it's not. I think we have a bit of a balance now.
The men on the team.
Because again, I think
it's not. I don't think the form of the men on the team is the problem per se. That's why I asked if it was an administration problem when you.
That's part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's quickly move on. We have quite one or two other stories that we must take before we close up on trends in the papers this morning. So, still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, there's this report here. Just 71% of households adversely affected by food price hike, says NBS, and that's on page 18. And I also look at this story. Atiku and LCCI fault Tinubu's 1.7 fresh loan, 1.7 trillion naira fresh loan amid lawmakers' swift approval, very swift as
sharp.
expected. And we have riders here. Atiku, Tinubu's loans, bone crushing tonight, saying it is key to Nigeria's growth.
Go and check the names of those CSOs. Go and figure out that.
Well, before I go and check into the names of those CSOs, very quickly, this post of Atiku Abubakar on X. The recent report released by the World Bank showing Nigeria as the third most indebted country to the International Development Association, IDA, is very concerning. The report is coming just when the government has already sent a proposal to the National Assembly, signaling an intention to borrow an additional 1.7 trillion. It is benchmark at the exchange rate of $1 to 800 naira, whereas the current exchange rate from the CBN stands at double of that, 1,600 naira to $1.
This is a demonstration.
Now, Nigeria is
of
sinking
Wirecast.
further into debt, and the National Assembly has become an accomplice once more. In July this year, the president boasted that the FIRS and customs under his watch has collected all-time high revenues to finance the budget. Why are they still borrowing? There's something that they are not telling Nigerians, even as they are being crushed by a combination of their failed trial and error policies and loan rackets. These President Tinubu loans are bone-crushing to Nigerians and bringing insufferable pressure on the economy, especially when infrastructure and development needs. A report by Budget, which is a budget watchdog, has disclosed that the 2024 budget is a mess because of the level of pork associated with it. I feel a sense of personal agony seeing that just a few years after the administration of President Obasanjo took our country out of foreign indebtedness, we are today back at the top spot in the same conundrum. It is time to apply more caution and arithmetic to the loan frenzy. Forward, and that's Atiku Abubakar as regards, borrowing as a nation.
Well, Sandra, for people, again, you can take the message and leave the messenger. Nothing to now be, Atiku too, give me come. But look at the message, Sandra. Let's look at the message and you understand why it's important to look at the message in this regard. Especially when we're talking about nation building now.
Is a demonstration
And for me,
Wirecast.
we've said this thing severally. You took out subsidy, Sandra. What was the excuse for taking out subsidy? We'll be able to save enough money, have you?
Yes.
To now divert into other things, infrastructure, blah, 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 and all of that. You floated the currency, talking about arbitrage. That, floating the currency will stop all the arbitrage when it comes to foreign exchange, blah, 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 and all of that, to save us some monies, and blah. Good. Monies will be saved for other purposes. You also started an aggressive revenue drive,
Wirecast.
to the point that I think about some few months ago, like Atiku is pointing out, they talked about the FIRS making good money. You know, recently the customs even said that by times 3, they were able to surpass their budget, their target of revenue collection. So we made all this money, Sandra. But look at the level of borrowing, at least in the last 1 year of this administration, Sandra. Like I told you some days ago, after the time Buhari was leaving, our debt profile was $87
of Wirecast.
billion. That was 87 trillion. Now we are over 130 trillion. Sorry,
Yes.
130 trillion naira. After the time Buhari was leaving was 87. Now we are over 130 trillion. Our standard. And after the meeting, you have the Minister of State for Finance addressing the press. And all she said practically was that, the IMF gained, damage control, because about 2 weeks ago, you had the Deputy Director of the IMF. The IMF MD said, your reforms are good, we like it, and basically what are the reforms? The Minister of State for Finance was saying, you've taken out subsidy, on electricity, you floated your currency, these are wonderful things. What we can now do, Sandra, is that the IMF is now telling us that, we will now create more opportunities for you to borrow. There are now opportunities, you can now borrow more, Sandra. And we are so happy about it. And that's why you can now see that the president is also saying that, what I'm now focused on is the creation of safety nets for Nigerians who have now been further impoverished by those reforms. Look at all the irony, look at all the contradictions, and you understand that we are not going anywhere with this reform. So we are not buying. Sandra, as told us severally, these guys that are telling you to further put your people into poverty and hardship, look at what they do in their own country. Sandra, do they do the same thing to their own people in their own countries? Those are people who have nations that run subsidy on almost everything for their own people. Sandra, I am telling you that these are people actually who run all manner of subsidies on health, they run subsidies on public transportation, they run subsidies on food for their people. But they are telling you that, your own reforms should take everything away so that you can further kill your own people, so that you can further put people into poverty and hardship. That's the prescription they are giving to you, the same prescription they will never give to their own people. Sandra, in education, primary school free for their children, secondary free. Even in university, when you are made to pay, There are scholarships, there are grants, there are loans that are available for you as individuals if you want to go to the university. What do we have here, Sandra?
All right. Thank you very much, Fouad. A lot to actually, put out, especially coming from, the statement of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as regards borrowing and whether or not we can even afford to continue to borrow, because you have, the chairman of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts, Senator Aliu Wamako, yes, Sokoto North, justifying the borrowing, explained that the loan would aid in implementing Nigeria's debt management strategy, which seeks to extend the maturity profile of the nation's debt, free up the domestic market for other borrowers, and increase external reserves. That's what, that's the justification that Senator Wamako is trying to put out. Emphasizing that the necessity of the loan is to ensure the successful execution of key national projects and programs while addressing outstanding claims and liabilities. But then you also have budgets on one side saying that the 2024 budget, for which this money is being borrowed for, is a mess. It's just all over. It's just all over the place. It's just all over the place. And here,
that this borrowing is for 2024 budget.
It's for 2024 budget, though. It's to.
I want the budget telling you that's a mess. In terms of performance, it's a complete mess. The budget is all over the place.
And you also
the
have
capital expenditure component of that budget has failed completely.
Thank you for that. And then you also have LCCI on one side saying the business community is increasingly alarmed by Nigeria's precarious economic situation and the potential ramifications of additional borrowings on the nation's financial health, saying that we are already strained fiscally with a debt to GDP ratio exceeding 50% at this time now. And then and debt servicing costs is threatening to eclipse capital expenditure in future budgets, meaning that we're going to be spending more money servicing debt.
If this is what we are saying after 18, 19 months of all of these so-called reforms, so what are we saving? What monies are we saving? Where are the monies? What impact has it made? Sandra, for anybody that continues to argue these things, check the reform that Jᴏɪṛ, the president of Argentina, started and see where they are. Check if it's what we have and where we are with our own reform.
All right. Thank you very much, Fad. Unfortunately, we have totally run out of time. But of course, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. The conversation continues. The major headline on the front page of Vanguard is terrorism. President Mom DHQ thrilled over arrest of Simon Ekpa and 4 others. And we also have here on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. Also have here, the reps have rejected a bill on 6-year single term. Assembly has approved the president's fresh request for a $2.2 billion. That's the 1.7 trillion that we just discussed now. And of course, we also have here on tax reform, the National Assembly is saying we'll be on the side of Nigerians. The story is on page 22 of Vanguard newspaper. And then finally, off the front page of Vanguard, we strongly support Tinubu's reforms, says IMF MD. I don't know. I think we should just stop reading from IMF, because just on Wednesday, or was it Monday now, the reforms, even though it is causing hardship, I guess. So we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we move on to Milan Focus, and that's the part where you get to be a part of the show. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.